Good morning, everyone. In January, I turned 65 years old, and I noticed a certain attitude among my friends, some of whom have retired. They're cramming all these activities into their life now: traveling, going out with friends, eating, taking foreign trips. Don't get me wrong, it's admirable if you have the money and the means to do it. But it reminds me of the Buddhist story, River of Fire, River of Water. In this story, a person is trying to get to a place before being caught by bad things chasing him, such as evil people, wild animals, strange creatures. I have a picture of that story. Looks like this. And here's a person running away, being chased by all these bad things. In the case of my friends, perhaps those things are really worries about health problems like stroke, autoimmune disease, heart problems, and arthritis. On the other hand, my mother just 2 weeks ago turned 100 years old. She can no longer walk, but she has a great attitude. When asked, "How are you?" she replies, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you eating?" "Too much." "How are you sleeping?" "Like a baby." I'm not sure the rest of us have reached that point, but it begs the question, what makes a fulfilling life? What is the greatest happiness? If I spent my time pursuing earthly pleasures, my fear is that when I really face my mortality, when I'm standing at death's door, would I be scared? Would I have regrets? Would I be ready to leave this world? Each of us must find the answers for ourselves. Or not. Recently, I asked a friend, "Do you ever think about your mortality? Don't you worry about death?" He looked down and said to me, "I try not to think about it." Jodo Shinshu urges us to think about it, to think about the meaning of life. Jodo Shinshu is the path of introspection and self-reflection. But what exactly is the meaning of self-reflection? There's a little story I'd like to tell you that appeared in this book, Everyday Suchness, by Reverend Gyomay Kubose, who was the minister of the Buddhist Temple of Chicago. He wrote the book in the 1960s. The story goes like this. There was a father who attended service every week at the Buddhist temple. His son, who had recently graduated from college, thought his father was wasting his time. Why would he go there and listen to ministers who did not even seem to practice what they preached? He told his father he should quit going. The father said, "I'll make you a deal. Keep a journal of all the things you have said, all the things you have thought, and all the things you have done. If you can do this honestly and sincerely for 2 weeks, and you can let me read the journal, I will quit going to the temple." The son, figuring that was easy enough, answered, "That's a deal." But after 1 week, the son came to the father and said, "I did as you asked, but I realized that I am ashamed to show you my journal, or to show anyone else. I thought I was good and that everything in my life was fine, but when I was really honest with myself, I realized I am not." The father said, "You see, son, we all think we are good and there's nothing to be ashamed of. But if we strip ourselves and look at our own ego, we are very selfish, and there are a lot of things we don't want others to know about. And that's why I go to the temple, to look at myself honestly, to find inner peace that comes from self-reflection. When I see my true nature, and I see my own shortcomings and limitations, then I can forgive and I can understand the faults of others. Reverend Kubose wrote, "Why do we go to the temple? We don't go to listen to lectures or to gain knowledge. We go for our own self-reflection and to deepen our understanding about ourselves. If we understand ourselves, we have no right to blame others. Rather, we can understand them. Only then can we find peace and harmony. This is what the Buddha taught." Actually, I keep a journal. I've been writing in a journal for almost 50 years, ever since I was a teenager. But I find it extremely difficult to be totally honest when I write. Sometimes I think, what if someone reads this? I'd be ashamed and embarrassed, so then I won't write what I'm actually thinking or feeling. It's really difficult to be honest with oneself. Reverend Manshi Kiyozawa also walked the path of self-reflection. And here's a picture of Reverend Kyozawa. Kyozawa was perhaps the most influential Jodo Shinshu teacher in the modern era. He passed away in 1903 at the young age of 40. For several years, he suffered from poor health and eventually died from tuberculosis. He faced his mortality head-on and was brutally honest in recording his thoughts and feelings. Shortly before he died, he found great peace of mind. In his journal, he wrote, "Aware of my total ignorance, I have come to entrust all matters to Amida Buddha. This is the most essential point of my religious conviction. Amida is ultimate reality, in which I cannot help but trust. By Amida, I mean the fundamental source of power through which I can live my life. Even though I cannot distinguish between good and evil, truth and untruth, happiness and unhappiness, I can live calmly and peacefully. Without waiting until the world after death, my trust in Amida has already given me the greatest happiness in this life. It's not that other things do not make me happy too. They give me some measure of happiness, but nothing gives me such tremendous happiness as my trust in Amida." Actually, I tricked you. Kyozawa did not use the word Amida. He used a Sanskrit word that refers to Amida, which essentially means the same thing. The word is Tathagata. Tathagata. Tathagata comes from the root word tathata, tathata, which means ultimate reality. What is ultimate reality? The Buddha explained the nature of reality. You've all heard it before. Impermanence, interdependence, no self, that is, a self comprised of other things versus a self that stands alone. To understand tathata means understanding, accepting, and living in a world of impermanence, of constant change. It means understanding, accepting, and living in a world of interdependence. And what is our most visible, most important, and most precious manifestation of interdependence in our lives? It is our relationship with each other, with our fellow human beings. Understanding and living in this world of relationships means appreciating them and cherishing them. It means understanding that I am who I am because of you. Not just you, but you and you and you and you and you and you, and so on. Everyone around me. We live in this life together. Do you know what is the English translation of tathata? It is suchness. Suchness. That's the title of Kubose's book, Everyday Suchness. In this book are stories about people confronting the world of impermanence, who realize their interdependence and who come to appreciate their connection to others. According to Shinran Shonin, the greatest fulfillment in life does not lay in traveling to exotic places, seeking new thrills, acquiring more possessions, or distracting our minds with various pleasures. The greatest fulfillment comes from answering the question, who am I? As long as you're alive, as long as you're taking a breath, it is never too late to ask this important question and to discover the answer. The answer is the greatest happiness. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha.